Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Harry from Spurs TV, back with another match reaction video. So Spurs went to Newcastle and lost 4-0 earlier today. So where should we begin? So the team Ange put out was as predicted, obviously the same back five. Maddison, Basuma and Bentancur, which left Sarr on the bench. I'll go into what I think went wrong in this selection. And obviously Johnson, Werner and Son maintained the front three. Please note Richarlison was out, so he didn't have that option. So Spurs went to Newcastle, you could say in the driving seat for fourth place, you could argue, and came out of it pathetically losing 4-0. So again, I'm going to touch on team selection first. Now, I don't know if you guys saw my pre-match video, which was obviously aired on Spurs Kings TV, but I would have played Sarr, Bentancur and Højbjerg today. And the reason I say this is because the midfield battle was the most important, and clearly we lost that. And furthermore, when you go away to Newcastle, despite, their 13 injuries, which arguably on paper people would say we should beat them because they got 13 injuries, but we lost, what was 6-0 last year, something like 6-2, something like that. And not just that, it's just going away to Newcastle is, I don't think people understand how difficult that game is. In my opinion, the Newcastle fans are probably the best in the country, the loudest in the country. Going to St James's Park, I think, is bigger than going to Anfield. I know we don't get anything at Anfield anyway, and that'll be later in this season. We'll find out we'll get nothing there again. But I think Newcastle away is such an underestimated, difficult match. And I don't think Ange, and this is when I'm going to first have a criticism of him again. He doesn't respect the opposition. Now, like I said, I would have played a three of Sarr, Bentancur and Højbjerg because at least we would have had someone to shield the defence. Now, again, Ange's tactics, too high up the pitch. With the Isak goals, which we conceded with a double, by the way, from Isak, who, for me, is my number one striker target this summer. We have to go and get him from Newcastle, pay like 80 million, just get him in. And I'll carry on explaining that a bit later on in the video as to why we need to do that. But yeah, left one-on-one with Isak. Van de Ven didn't have the best game, and this is what happens. I mean, we lose 4-0 because Van de Ven is literally our own defender who covers the whole back line. In the goals, every goal we concede, apart from obviously the set-piece one at the end, we were literally left 2-on-2, 3-on-2, because when the teams break off us, as we're so predictable, despite the amount of possession we have, which we do almost nothing with, especially today, they know where to hit us. And there we go. They scored 2-3 goals on counter. The other one was a set piece, again, very predictable. We can't defend set pieces, we can't attack set pieces. That's down to Mason and Jedinak, who Ange actually did choose, by the way. So, again, this defeat's on Ange. We can't keep playing this way. We've got Arsenal at home in 2 weeks, which I dread from now because Arsenal will they have to win that game to have a title chance, but they'll come in that game probably a lot more confident than they did before the international break, or not the international break, sorry, it's only Spurs that have a break, but they'll come into that game a lot more confidence than we would because, okay, they got Bayern beforehand this week, but it's just not good enough. And then the reason I wrote Ange as well is because last season Stellini went there. He actually got sacked the day after for a similar performance like this, but no one seems to want to probably bring that up because it's criticising Ange. And like I say again, this defeat is on Ange because on paper, Stellini had a much worse defence than Ange last season. Conte had a much worse defence than Ange last season. That we're conceding more goals. So clearly it's a tactical choosing or tactical whatever he's doing. And from what Eric Dyer's interview was this week, implies to me that he doesn't even do defensive tactics or practice defending. He just goes, oh, let's just attack. So I don't know who takes charge of the defensive side of this team, if I'm being honest with you. As for our front line themselves, Werner missed 2 golden chances, especially one of them in the first half, where any half-decent forward would have scored. And bear in mind that our forwards are probably our most important part of our team because we're so attacking. They need to be hitting 10 to 15 goals on either side, on the left wing, right wing, and the striker needs to be hitting like 20 to 30 if we have any chance of really challenging for the title next season, which is what apparently Ange claims we're going to do. I don't know what world he lives in, and that's going to be possible, but oh well. Son again was poor. Like I've been saying since even last season, if I'm being honest with you. Moving him into the middle of the season has papered over the cracks. He shouldn't even be captain of Tottenham Hotspur, if I'm being honest. And he doesn't have the leadership capability. And if Spurs were a big club, they would have gone and signed a replacement of Harry Kane in the summer, like Colin Moani, who was linked with us, actually. And I think he would have been a good fit. Yeah. And you look at Newcastle's front line today compared to ours. Newcastle had Isak, again, a lot younger than Son, a lot faster than Son, because Son is 32, he doesn't have the same pace he had before. And he's clinical as well. Isak, for me, from when I've seen of him before, he's the closest we're going to see to Henry. And I know it's a bold statement, but from a stylistic standpoint, yes, 100%. Gordon, who ironically Paratici kind of wanted, way better than Johnson on the right today, and he's got 11 goals this season. So yeah, put that away. Yeah, Gordon's better than Johnson. And on the left, I mean, need I say more? And Barnes was better than Werner, and this is why Newcastle front three starts ahead of our front three. Werner should have really scored his first chance. That maybe would have made the game a bit different. But because this system is so focused on attack, if your attackers are not good enough, just forget it. And at the beginning of the season, it was different because opposition didn't understand the style we were playing or tactics we were playing, whatever label you want to put on it. So it was easier for us to spring this inverted stuff and this, playing it round and round and round and round and round without teams not knowing what we're going to do. But now teams have sussed us out, and they've sussed out Ange. This is what happens. They'll just sit back and hit us on the counter. I mean, all the goals were the same kind of goals we concede every time, either off a set piece or a counter attack with a fast player. And like I said before, Van de Ven and Romero left 2-on-2 almost every single time the other team breaks. Another gripe with Ange. Basuma again started today. Again, he was poor. Is he going to start against Arsenal? Because I hope he doesn't. And it's like Ange, maybe Basuma is one of Ange's favourites, but it was just pathetic. And considering all these people were saying, oh, we've improved so much in last season. No, we haven't. The only difference is we kick the ball forward. We just play attacking football. That's the only difference. But do we have more of a plan? Apart from play the ball forward and attack, no. I don't think we have a plan. And like I said, from what Eric Dyer said in his interview, Ange doesn't do tactics. So this worries me, if I'm being honest. And I just don't think, like I said, he respects the opposition we play. And maybe that brushes onto the players. And I know Spurs have a history of not respecting the opposition anyway. But for Newcastle, you're telling me these players don't respect the opposition by now. If they don't, then they shouldn't even be here. But this is on Ange. Like I said, the midfield he picked, Maddison, despite me being a massive fan of him, shouldn't be playing. Basuma shouldn't be playing. Benzco, you could argue, maybe was in for a shout, which is why I would have put Sarr and Højbjerg, because Højbjerg came on and made a difference last game. So naturally, you should put him in. And I just think in away games, I said before on previous shows and on the Spurs King TV, obviously before in the preview show, but also on other shows this morning, depending on what day this comes out. But on Alan's time added on, I said that in the comments that it's going to be like Fulham away again. And I was 100% spot on, because teams know how to play against us now. It does not rocket science. And this is on Ange. It's just, we're way too high up. It doesn't work. And again, a lot of people point to Pep, right? And how he plays inverted fullbacks, but he plays in a different way. If you notice with City, he does push his 4 and his 1 very high. So essentially, the fullbacks invert, not for like an attacking, but not simply for an attacking perspective, but it's for kind of compacts the 5. So they'll defend in with 5 and then attack with 5. They kind of play the game in 2 different areas of the pitch. That's how I've watched them play anyway. And the 5 of them play so high up, and the other 5 kind of drop. I mean, the 3, you see Stones plays in midfield, he drops in and makes a 3, right? With Basuma, he doesn't do that for Spurs. He kind of adds on to it. So you're left with Van de Ven, who's the only recovering defender because Romero doesn't have the pace. And Romero, again, I don't think it was that great. But the lack of leadership is again an issue. Like I said, I criticised Son, not just because of his play, but he's a leader, right? And where was he today? Again, where was he? He's a captain with 3-0 down. I don't see him shouting at the other players. I just see Maddison doing it, to be fair to Maddison. But again, he's not been playing well not this season, but since he's come back from his injury. And obviously the other captain, Romero, who just moans all the time. And we know he has a short fuse still. I mean, I know he's kept it quiet for a bit, but Van de Ven, who pretty much is our defensive cover, had a bad game, and this is what happens. But it's just I just don't think Ange respects the opposition enough, and this is a problem in itself. So he doesn't adapt. He just goes, "Oh, we'll just play the same way." Okay, are you going to learn your lesson? Because we've got Arsenal next, and yeah, people say form goes out the window, but they'll look at us, especially learning from the game what we drew with them earlier in the season. They'll think, "Oh, we can use Trossard, we can use Martinelli, we can use Saka, especially Saka, and pick up those holes that your inverted fullbacks will leave." And here we go. They're going to pick us off. And again, the midfield. I'm sorry he has to play a stronger midfield against Arsenal because we can't play the same midfield. And again, earlier in the season, we were there praising our midfield, saying, "Oh, Saab, Bissouma, and Madison are really good." And I'm not going to be one of those people and say I didn't praise that midfield because I did. It was working. But that's partly because teams didn't know what we were going to do. Like I said earlier in this video, they didn't know what we were going to do. They didn't know what style we were going to play. They didn't know what tactics we were going to play. And obviously with the overloads of the inverted fullbacks, that kind of helped. But it's just not good enough. And you look back and you think, have things changed since last season? I'd argue, no. I think Conte was 100% right in his comments as well before he got sacked or walked away, whatever you want to say. And nothing has changed. The only difference that's changed is the style of football. The level hasn't. And yeah, come on, you Spurs, and we really need to improve to beat Arsenal. Have any chance of getting anything out to Arsenal in the derby and the 2 games after that. And yeah, thankfully, we got 2 weeks off. But come on, you Spurs.